As Stephen outlined, I'm going to give you a business intelligence perspective on the Mint and BRICS countries and regions. So I've got three aspects to my talk. First is I want to outline how we set up a business intelligence function at the Royal Society of Chemistry recently. Secondly, I'm going to demonstrate how we're using that function and that resource within the organisation to identify markets and which ones we preferentially invest one over the other, and some interesting data and information we have in the Mint and BRICS countries. And then lastly, I'm going to show you in a bit more depth the information we have for Mint and BRICS. So first of all, as I said, we set up a business intelligence function at the Royal Society of Chemistry in 2011, at the back end of 2011. And initially we had 2 members of staff reporting into myself. We now have 4 members of staff in that department. And we have, in that department, we have a manager, 2 business intelligence executives and an analyst as well that support the activity we run in that department. As you'll see from the slide here, the main objectives for that department are as follows. So the aim here is to use customer, competitor knowledge and market data to inform a couple of things. Really importantly, the development of our products and services, which are the things we should be investing in, which products and services should we be taking forward. Clearly that could have a general context or a regional context. I'll come on to speak about Mint and BRICS in particular later on. We're also using it actively to identify strategic opportunities, how we develop our strategy by the understanding we achieve through the business intelligence function. It gives us an opportunity to again decide where to put our investment. A bit more detail about the business intelligence function. We hope you can see that from the back. It's a bit pale from where I'm looking. We've got 5 sort of key areas within BI. We've got, first of all here, the market and customer insight. This can take many forms, but one example of it is key opinion leader telephone surveys, talking to our excellent contacts in chemistry to find out what products and services they need. We have, through our community, through Royal Society of Chemistry, we have some excellent contacts who can really point us in the right direction with the development of products and services, so we actively use that as a means of suggesting where we might invest our money. Secondly, competitor intelligence here. Again, it can take many guises, but as an example, we regularly profile companies and partnerships in terms of potential partnerships. So we're profiling companies to see what they're doing as potential acquisition targets, as potential partnerships. We do a lot of work to understand what's out there and where we, again, might want to partner or acquire. Thirdly, on the benchmarking side, a number of things going on there. Again, an example, we would be tracking actively our performance against our competitors in a region. So, for example, how many articles are we publishing in our journals in, say, India versus another publisher in that region? So we've got lots of information and data on that kind of stuff. We've got market reports. Again, this would be, take a typical form, would be scoping out a new subject area that we might want to expand our products and services into. We want to find out how that subject area is developing in a region or a country. Who are the key contacts in that region? Which are the top institutes? Clearly that knowledge is very important if, for example, we were setting up a new journal, because from that information we can build editorial boards, do our commissioning, etc. So we've got lots of data on that as well. Lastly, data analysis and visualization. The example here, which I'll show in more detail as we go through, is really identifying key sales leads and key opportunities to sell our products and services in a given region. And it's something we have called the engagement score, and I'll show you in more visually how we use that to drive sales leads and sales in region. So I've got three main examples then to show you how we're using the BI function to operate in the regions. First of all, there's something called the market attractiveness, which is gives us using data, gives us an opportunity to measure numerically the importance of one country or region against another one. So again, important in terms of considering how we invest our money. Secondly, the engagement scores, which shows us how engaged an institution is with us, and that clearly points to sales leads and sales opportunities. And then lastly, some general data I'll show you on the Mint and BRICS countries. So first of all, the market attractiveness score. This is very much a data-driven approach to understanding our markets in which we operate in. So Mint and BRICS are examples of those. It enables us to prioritize those markets, to say how we should be investing our money. It uses both internal data, so data that we've collected ourselves from our own systems, as well as market external environment data as well, and combines those in a way that enables us to measure one country against another. What we're actually doing is measuring the attractiveness of a country against its fit with us as an organization. And you'll see along the bottom here some examples of some of the things that the metric includes. The market size, so for example, the number of chemists in a country. Another example from market size might be the number of published articles in chemistry in that country. It could also include data on the number of chemically related patents in that region or country, and various other metrics here. I'll move on to show you in a bit more depth what that actually looks like with a nice visual, which hopefully will show you how that works. So what we actually end up doing is plotting, as I mentioned, the fit of the country with our profile, and the profile we can define what that looks like against the attractiveness of that market. And you can see some of the factors that are included in that. I've already mentioned some of those. So our market share in a country, the research quality in that country is clearly very important. The strength of any existing relationships, clearly if we've already got relationships there, then that may be much easier to move in and develop those further. The market size is clearly important. How many chemists are there in that region? How quickly is it growing? So a whole host of things. The access to technology. Do they have access to the internet, etc.? Do they have access to telephones? Even whatever you can make of that. Also the presence or absence of competitors. Clearly that tells us something about potentially how easy or not it might be for us to move into a region. So this is the visual output, which hopefully will give you much more of a feel for what we're talking about here. So this is the plot of RSC's profile against market attractiveness. I've taken off some of the labels of some of the countries. Clearly some of this is sensitive in terms of the amount of investment we're putting into some of the areas. The size of the bubble here is the number of chemists in a given country. Each of the bubbles represents a country. I've marked up some of the countries that come under the Mint and BRICS categories there. And we've got a series of some quadrants here. We've got some countries here that are accessible but small. So they fit well with their profile, but in terms of attractiveness to us, they're not particularly attractive. We've got some core markets clearly where we put the bulk of our investment. As Stephen already said, the bulk of what we do in terms of our publishing sales and our articles that are published in our journals are mainly export. 90–95% is outside of the UK. We've got these potential mover markets, Indonesia, Mexico, Brazil, Turkey. We can regularly take snapshots of this, so we track this over time, and we can do annual updates. And we've got some attractive outliers, not much in there, but some on the periphery of that. So this is a really good tool for us, just as a top level, to say where should we be taking our business in the future, and that's all very much data driven from a number of different variables, as I described earlier. The next example, I want to show you now the institutional engagement score, and this has a really direct input into our sales activity. So the score that we output here gives us a sense of the strength of our relationship with a given institution in a region. Clearly that points to opportunities for us to develop and sell our products and services. Some of the components in here are outlined on here. So we've got things like the usage of the institution. We've got the number of article submissions. We've got the number of people that are signed up to our newsletters and e-alerts. We've got pay-per-view purchases. We've got the commissioning contacts that we collect at that institute. So clearly we can relate this to Mint and Bricks, but we're doing this globally as well. So we have this scoring, which again is very much a data-driven approach. The score that we output from this gives us a feel of the strength of our relationship with an institution in a given region or country. I hope you can see this at the back. There's quite a lot of information on here, but this is a heat map showing along the top. I've got my pointer. Along the top here is a series of our journal products labelled A to I. Down the left here is a series of universities, A to H on here, and we've got various scorings in here that relate to our engagement with that institution with a given product. Down the right-hand side, we also have the number of editorial board members at that particular institute, which again gives us some sense of how well we're engaged with that given institute. Highlighting University H here, you can see we've got mainly greens. We've got a total score of 93 on here for those that you can see the detail. Clearly, University H is very important in terms of sales opportunities and various other things that we can do with that given university. The grey boxes outline some of the things we're doing here. So the total engagement is shown here down the column here. We've got individual engagement on each product as well, which is quite useful. So we can actually see which products are most popular at that given university through this scoring. We can instantly see the products with low and high engagement, which is very useful. Our sales reps really love this because it gives them some dialogue, some information, some data to use when they're going in to visit the university. All this information clearly creates a sensation from the university and the library that we really understand their business. We know how well engaged they are already with us, and so our sales reps clearly have a very good opportunity there to upsell our products. We can view institutions by country, by sales region, or by package subscriptions. And again, this point down here that by knowing we might just have one university subscribing to one product, if we can demonstrate that a number of products the university has great engagement with, then there's an opportunity there to sell a package perhaps rather than an individual sale, which is clearly a great opportunity. I'm now going to move on to talk a bit about country data packs. The last thing, in fact, I wanted to say about this, actually, which I didn't mention. So what I've shown here is the perspective from a journal, very much from a publishing angle. We're increasingly using this in other areas of the business, so we could also do some scoring like this for membership products, for our education-related products, for our conferences. We have, as the RSC, we have a very wide church in terms of the kind of products and services we offer. So again, we can, having come from a publishing focus to start with, we're beginning to consider how we can use this more widely across the organisation. So onto our data pack. So we've got, within the business intelligence function, we're collecting annually a vast bank of information, which until a couple of years ago we didn't have in any organised way. We didn't have a central resource that people could come to find out that information. We've got around over 40 different data packs of different countries. We can run out comparisons of countries within the Mint and Bricks region. These come from a variety of sources. The first three on here to note are all freely available sources out there. These are things that any of you in the audience can get hold of. We're combining that with our own data internally and other information we have. So I'm going to show you a bit more some examples that relate to the Mint and Bricks countries. This is basic information from World Bank and UNESCO, GDP, output here for the countries we're talking about. The research and development spend as well here. Various other factors that you can get from both World Bank and UNESCO data. It's very useful to our colleagues who are in our international development team when they're going abroad to really have a good understanding of the context of these countries and how they individually compare. This clearly relates back to our earlier market attractiveness scoring as well. The next slide here again shows you higher education and industry for the BRICS countries. What's going on there? Really important that we know how many higher education students and chemists there are in industry in these countries. So that information is vital when we're making decisions about what we're doing in these regions and where we invest our money. That's the top half. The bottom half is the engagement score again I showed you. So here's a list of some of the most engaged institutes for us in those regions: China, India, Korea, Brazil, Russia, and South Africa. We can see the relative importance of one university or institution over another. Again, that tells us something about what we should be doing with regards to those the scientists working in there and the institute themselves. Recently, the RSC published a roadmap looking at the science opportunities and the challenges that are being faced globally and how chemistry can help address those. Particular areas of focus for that were the areas of energy, food, health and water, where we feel chemists have a great opportunity to input, change the science and move things forward, and are going to help address some of those challenges globally in the future. The next slide again is a data pack or data output. One of the roadmap challenges identified is the raw materials and feedstocks in the future and how chemists can input into that. We've got information here again from a number of free sources here. So comparing Turkey, Nigeria, Mexico, Indonesia here for freshwater withdrawals, thinking about the areas I outlined there: energy, food, health and water. Oil production in those regions again, CO2 emissions. So all of this kind of all these kind of information is very useful background in terms of how we develop our conferences, meetings, our science output globally. Another example for the Mint countries in terms of publishing. Here's an output showing the articles published by RSC, relative proportions here over time. Articles submitted to RSC, again, over time from 2009 up to 2013. We do a lot of tracking of our competitors in regions as well. These are outputs from Publisher X and Publisher Y across those countries as well. This information is absolutely vital when we're looking at our commissioning in the region and the activities of our publishing. In terms of international development, hang on, I've got one more here. Sorry, got one more again. Another form of output here. This is the H-index, the Hirsch index. For those of you who haven't heard of the H-index, average citations per article. Again, give us a sense of the quality aspect of published articles in the region. A number of referees in the region as well. So lots and lots of different types of data here that we can output that really is vital in terms of understanding our the opportunity in the region and our current presence and where we might want to move to. In terms of international development, just to say that the Royal Society of Chemistry has a really long-term commitment to support the Mint and BRICS countries, and the main ways in which we're doing that is via building skills and knowledge and supporting the community. We've currently got offices in China, India and Brazil, and we're establishing and continue to establish partnerships with a number of academic institutes and companies in each of those regions. I just want to finish by giving you a little bit more of an example of what we're doing for Nigeria. We have a partnership with Procter & Gamble, which has established two centres of excellence training young scientists. in scientific equipment. They're also actively working in R&D in companies that are based in Africa. We also make our ebooks available to all universities in Nigeria. The last example here dates from earlier in the year, in March, where a deal was struck with Mexico for an academic library consortia. That's all I have. Thank you very much. I'm happy to take questions if anybody has any.
It's Ian Burgess at Waters Clear. So when it comes to getting paid, it looks like it's like through pharmaceuticals and consortia. Is there any other types of customers that are buying?
So we have academic and company buying from both sides. So it's academic institutes. Where did you pick up that inference from? Is that
just the last slide saying you had a partnership with Procter and Gamble and you had consortia in Mexico.
Yeah, we have a mix of things going on. So we have some partnerships of that type, but we also have money clearly coming in from our institutional sales in region as well. So there's partnerships of that type where P&G are actually providing money for us to do things in region. That was the example there for Nigeria.
Okay, not so much. Sorry, Peter Ashman from BMJ. Not so much question, but just I thought I'd share a similar experience we've had at BMJ, which is a traditionally British organisation. Now about 65% of our revenue comes from outside the UK. And what we've done is open hubs in the US, which is clearly not a brick or a mint, but in India as well. And new scouting parties are out in China, Brazil, and in Saudi Arabia. And what we've done is initially put out a market business development person to scope out the potential size of the market. And in India, that started with one person, and now we have 25 staff in India and a version of the BMJ in India and an awards ceremony. So just by going in with a single person, we found was a very low risk way of doing that. Scouting out the market, finding what the opportunities are, and then building the team from there. China is growing now. I think we've got 6 or 7 people there, with exactly the same strategy. So, I just thought I'd share that for a traditionally British organisation and the way that we've expanded out our business.
Thank you. Yeah.
Any other questions for Andy or any other comments? If we could show our appreciation again for Andy.